Grand Rising, everyone. Hope everyone is doing great and wonderful on this May 31st, 2020, the last day of May. Whew, what a month May has been in June. I'm so excited. I'm kind of not under the weather, but I'm exhausted from my excitement. As I announced on Instagram on my stories in the middle of the night, like 2 o'clock, I was pretty much up at 4 just because I was overwhelmed with all the excitement. And it is definitely positive. It is definitely a lot. Let's just say that. So welcome to Addicted to Astrology. This is episode 6. I am TMZ, teaching everyone abundantly, empowering many. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for subscribing and liking and commenting. All right, so today we are talking about eclipses, retrogrades, as usual, and Gemini. We're still in Gemini season, as well as the dawning of the age of the Aquarius. So, starting with the age of the Aquarius and moving backwards to the title that I just presented. Has anyone ever heard, and I played this before on, I believe, episode 2 or 1. I played the song, The Dawning of the Age of Aquarius, and it was muted because you're not supposed to play music that you don't have the rights to. So I just like to sing the first line for you. I don't have my tea, but I have my water. And I was outside, but it's a lot of people cutting their lawns. It's a cool day finally, so they're getting some yard work done, and it's a little bit of noise and helicopters going around. So I came back in, but hopefully I can get back outside because Sunday is about the sun, and that is why I wore my yellow hat. All right, so this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. That one, right? So the first part goes, when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars. Okay, so we're just going to talk about that part. Then it goes into the piece that guides the planets, and love will steal the stars. That's the whole first line, right? Before they go into this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. So starting off, this is actually not the age of Aquarius yet, but the dawning means we're coming into it. We are actually in the age of Pisces, and I don't want to dwell on the age of Pisces too much because it is definitely affecting us all in not so good ways. However, the good ways, because I like to stay positive, the good ways that it is affecting us is that we are definitely becoming more artistic and more spiritual and more in tuned and intuitive, right? The bad side of being in the age of Pisces is it's all an illusion. It's probably not real. It's good to dream, but unless you take action on making those dreams positive and real, it's an illusion. So illusions are not bad, but they're not always good either. So my lips are kind of dry too because I've been chatty all night. Especially with Leroy. Shout out to Lee, my partner in astrology, who started me again on this path to being on Addicted to Astrology, starting this vlog, this podcast. So when the moon is in the 7th house, and actually the moon is actually just moved into the 7th house at 10:47, between 10:40 and 10:47 Eastern Standard Time, which was like 20 minutes ago. There's a full moon app online that I use, and it tells me exactly when the moon moves into the next sign, which is every 2.5 days. So it'll be in Scorpio again by Tuesday evening. So currently it is in the 7th house, and the 7th house is Libra, partnerships, relationships, balancing out issues with legal justice, all kinds. Does this sound familiar? What's going on right now? All right, 11:11 Ashe. I normally have this on the social media or YouTube by 11:11, but again, there was a lot of notes I had to take, so I am wishing you gratefulness. Be gratefulness at 11:11 right now, Eastern Standard Time. Let's move on. I was talking about Jupiter and the 7th house. So, I'm sorry, the moon being in the 7th house. So the moon is currently in the 7th house. It's just moved into it about 30 minutes ago. And the second part of the song is when Jupiter aligns with Mars. So when Jupiter, the planet of expansion and luck, aligns with Mars, the planet of big energy and action, it kind of stirs up things. But Jupiter is currently aligned with Pluto, and we've been talking about those conjunctions as well. My sign Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto, so they both are big planets that deal with big changes. And since Jupiter is not aligned with Mars, however, it was aligned with Mars on March the 19th and the 20th. And if you think back, March the 19th and the 20th of 2020, so when you think back when Jupiter was actually aligned with Mars, it was around the time when we became on the lockdown. Now, that is definitely big energy because the whole earth was put on lockdown, right? And basically, when that happened, it wasn't really bringing peace. I'm not sure if the moon was in the 7th house at the same time, so it might not have connected, but I do know that was big action that was taken along the lines of the Capricorn and Cancer North Node and South Nodes that I spoke on before, as well as I'm going to speak on again today because they have a lot to do with the eclipses that are coming up and the eclipse series that is ending from those Capricorn Cancer nodes. But again, Jupiter is aligned with Pluto currently. They're in conjunction, which means they're close. So Jupiter is in Capricorn right now, and Pluto is in Aquarius. So they're close because those signs are one after the other. That is what aligned means. They're very close in degrees. So, in saying all this, this also goes back to March the 30th of 2020 when Saturn joined that alignment. Saturn joined Pluto and Mars. Mars was in Pisces. Saturn was in Aquarius. So those are the alignments because they are very close to each other in degrees and signs, back to back, right? So Aquarius, going back to the song that I'm talking about, in the age that we're moving into, the dawning, Aquarius is the actual water bearer sign. They are an air sign that presents water as non-categorizing, shapeless, like air is. Aquarians are progressive, independent, innovative, like other air signs like Geminis and Libras. And basically, they're really highly intelligent. Scorpios were created in Aquarius. I have an Aquarian sister. I have my youngest daughter's grandmother's an Aquarian. I think of Aquarius as great humanitarians. They are very nonchalant as well because they have this kind of attitude that does not take any BS. They don't have to follow the status quo, or they don't feel that they have to, which is kind of not, it's definitely not a bad thing. It's definitely positive. You want to kind of be the person that can move forward without having to be pulled back by authority, which is the Capricorn side of things, which is that next sign, the sign before Aquarius, right? So, being that we are moving into the age of Aquarius, and ages last over 2,000 years, so we're talking about the age of Aquarius actually starts between 2,500 and 2,600. So we're talking about 400 or 500 more years, right, from now. We still have to kind of move into that aspect. It's not like those who will be here on 2,500 are going to say, oh, it's time for the age of Aquarius. Let's be innovative. Let's be intelligent. You have to move towards that kind of behavior, that kind of mindset. So it has to start with a world of billions of people. It has to start somewhere, and it is. The universe is moving us towards that kind of mindset. So, all right. Air signs tend to have pie in the sky dreams, but they are definitely people that think in a different way than the other signs. And going back to Mars really quick, when it aligns with any planet, it is stirring up things. So Jupiter being the planet of abundance and expansion, and Mars being the big planet of action, they can definitely bring peace when they do align, along with the moon in another air sign of Libra in the 7th house. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing, because I'm still learning a lot about the age of Aquarius, but I wanted to begin with that so you can see where we're going with everything else. All right, retrogrades. Along with the 4 retrogrades that happened in this month of May, one started in April. Actually, Pluto went retrograde in April. Jupiter, Saturn, and where's my mind this morning? I'm telling y'all, I'm off of 3.5 hours of sleep. Jupiter, help me. Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus are in retrograde right now. So that's the 4 planets that are already in retrograde. They're going to continue to be in retrograde for a little while. I can't remember which one ends at the end of June. I'll get back to you on that. I believe it's Venus. But so remember, Pluto's in retrograde in Aquarius, going back into Capricorn, and that's going to last for most of the year. Saturn is in retrograde in Capricorn. Its home planet. Venus is in retrograde in Gemini. Jupiter's in retrograde in Capricorn. Here we are. Do you hear me saying the same signs over and over? Because this has a lot to do with the North Node and South Nodes. The nodes being, because the nodes go along with the eclipses that we're going to talk about too. And they're in Cancer, Capricorn. They were in Cancer, Capricorn, and they just switched, and now they're in Gemini and Sagittarius. So the retrogrades coming up in June are Mercury retrograde, which we all are very familiar with because it happens 3 to 4 times a year, and that will be in Cancer. Mercury is currently in Cancer, and Mercury is again the planet of communication and how we get messages or be messengers. And that will start on June the 18th and end on July the 12th. It's always about a 3-week period. Neptune is the other planet that'll be in retrograde, and it is in its home in Pisces. Now, Neptune is a planet of illusion here again. Pisces is the sign of dreams, illusions, spirituality. It's the last sign of the zodiac. It's also the sign of endings. because Aries is the sign of, new beginnings. It's the first sign in the zodiac. Neptune goes into retrograde on June the 23rd and ends on November the 28th. So we are going to be learning big lessons pretty much all year long with all these retrogrades. There's even Mars retrograde coming. I believe it's at the end of the summer in August. It's a lot to remember, so please forgive me of the dates. I will definitely get back to you, and you can go through my videos and discover or, be updated on whatever I said, because it's so much information to give y'all. All right, so Neptune in retrograde can internalize your feelings or your fears or your anxiety. This is basically time to say, let me get out of my own head. These illusions, these fantasies can take you farther away from the truth, and that is not something you want. It is wonderful to dream, but unless you're taking action on those dreams and making them come true, it's all an illusion. And I think I said that a few minutes ago. All right. So I didn't want to be too long on retrogrades because I've done a lot on retrogrades. The eclipses are like a long 3-page notes, 3 or 4 pages of notes I wrote. So let's get busy with the eclipses. So the eclipses, what are eclipses? The eclipses are the moon's alignment with the sun and the earth. It's the moon's consistent cycle, so it is not something that doesn't happen often. It happens actually 3 to 7 times a year. An eclipse, if you remember, like in science class, you went outside with those funny glasses on and looked at the sky. Or sometimes, they told you not to look at the sky, right? Unless you had those glasses on. But in astrology still is a science. In astrology, it is kind of like the emotional drama queens of the sun and the moon and the earth. Well, the sun and the moon. But definitely the moon, right? The moon is the emotional sign anyway. So this will bring shakeups and big surprises. And I, for one, suggest you should stay in so that it doesn't affect you as bad, but it will affect everyone. Let's get that straight. It will affect everyone, some more than others, most more than others. The North and South nodes that we spoke on back in episode 1 or 2, forgive me for forgetting these numbers. The North and South nodes bring our fate and our karma. They represent our past and our future. So the South node, let's begin with that. The South node begins like when you're born up to middle life, so like 40s. Now, sometimes you can be ahead of your time and it could start before your 40s, right? But generally it starts around that time, and your South node is your experiences and your karma, what you learned when your South node was in it. Now, the nodes, remember, are polarity, the opposite signs. So like the nodes are in Gemini, and the opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius. The signs, 6 signs backwards or forwards ahead of the sign we're talking about in the South node. So currently the South node is in Sagittarius. So the North node is in Gemini, right? The North node is your destiny, what you're striving for to be, okay? In your karmic, right? In your karmic life or your life cycle, right? So eclipses are not rare. Again, they tend to happen all the time, and they tend to happen in series. So this month in June, we have 2 eclipses. One is actually this week, and the other one is in July. So it's 3 going on right now. Then towards the end of the year, there'll be 2 more. I'll give you the dates in a second because I do actually have those written down. So we are currently actually in a 2-year-long eclipse that began on July 13th, 2018, and that is my daughter Zane's birthday. 2018 means she was turning 6 because she'll be 8 this year, the day after the Mercury retrograde ends. Thank God it's her birthday. And the funny thing is Mercury retrograde ends a few days before my birthday in November. The next one coming up after this one this summer. So anyway, The last one began, the 2-year long eclipse series that was in Capricorn and Cancer began on July 13th, 2018. And in this series, it'll end on July 5th and 6th of 2020. So 2020 will start a new series of the Gemini ones because we just moved the North Node and the South Node into Gemini and Sagittarius. And the first one will begin this week on June the 5th in Sagittarius. Now, Venus is in retrograde in Gemini, which makes love, beauty, and money a little funny. So, Gemini's the chatty sign, the communicative sign, the intelligent, innovative sign, like the other air signs. And Sagittarius is the adventurous fire sign. So they like taking risks. They like big philosophizing. Is that a word? They're philosophers. They're philosophical. That's what I'm trying to say. So they like big discussions on everything. And there's pretty much big discussions on everything happening right now. I don't want to get off track, but if you really pay attention to what I'm saying, a lot of this is happening in plain sight right now. We are definitely chatting up everything online. We are definitely being adventurous right now, taking risks, being protesters, and hopefully not rioters. All right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to run outside real quick to meet up with my Libra sis. And she's a Scorpio ascendant, and I'm a Libra ascendant, Scorpio sun. Don't forget to, or shout out first of all to the people that will get their birth charts interpreted this week. Shout out to y'all. I do encourage you to get your birth charts interpreted or read or printed out for you to read yourselves and interpret with help or assistance if needed. But remember, I'm doing a special for $5 for 20 minutes phone interpretation, $20 for typed up paper interpretation. So get it while prices last. All right. Where were we? So, eclipses are not rare. The too long cycle, I believe I was there. So, yeah, I was talking about the Cancer node and Capricorn nodes series began on the July 13th and they end the 2018 and they end this year on July 5th or 6th, depending on where you are in the world, on 2020. So the new series starts because of the new nodes, Gemini and Sag nodes, on this week. That's where I was. So I was talking about how Venus is in Gemini, and this will affect your funny money, funny love, and funny beauty. Now, remember, when I spoke on Gemini in retrograde, I said that it's us going to be getting used to our look and how we want to present ourselves beauty-wise, and how I'm getting used to my little afro. And because my money has been funny for the last couple of months, I don't have the time or the money to get glamorous because of the lockdown, right? Like I normally do. Again, if you've seen my channel the past few years, I wore weaves and wigs a lot. So now I'm getting used to just loving myself with my own hair, my own natural look, right? And I was also talking about, okay, I'm sorry, y'all, that I'm repeating myself because I have to remember where I was. I was gone for a few minutes. I'm learning, remember, I learned how to edit my videos so it won't look like I was gone for as long as I was. All right, so I was talking about how Gemini is the chatty sign and Sagittarius is the risk-taking sign. So this new moon cycle, the sun and the moon are at the same degree. I'm sorry. So the solar eclipse has to do with the new moon cycle, when the sun and the moon are at the same degree. And the moon passes in between the sun and the earth, and that's how you get the solar eclipse. Solar eclipses also happen on new moons. The lunar eclipse happens on full moons, and that is when the earth gets between the sun and the moon. So we'll bounce back on that a little bit later, but the dates for 2020 eclipses, the first one was back in January 10th, and that was a lunar eclipse in Cancer, still continuing that series that began back in 2018. Then, and notice I'm going to be saying the exact same signs over and over in these planets and these nodes and in these eclipses. This one this week is June the 5th. I believe it happens at like 2 in the morning. And this is solar eclipse in Sag. And again, Cancer and Capricorn are polarity. They're opposites. They're same but different. And so are Sag and Gemini. June the 21st is the solar eclipse in Cancer. That's the second one in June. And then, got a little shady. And then in July, there's another lunar eclipse in Capricorn. And I believe that is the end of that series. I've said that before. That is the last of the 2-year series of the Capricorn and Cancer eclipses and nodes. But the nodes ended already. So in November, there is the lunar eclipse in Gemini, and December, that's November the 30th, and then December the 14th, we have a solar eclipse in Sag. Those are your dates. So, what energies will be given off from these eclipses? This is important. Our ancestors used to fear eclipses. I mean, even back in the 80s when I was in science class in elementary school, we did fear eclipses. That was a time when they were like, don't look up at it. Make sure you have on your sunglasses. It'll burn your eyes. Even I remember the joke about Trump looking up at it. The one that happened, I believe, in 2019 or 18, right? You all remember that when he looked up at one of these solar eclipses, supposedly without glasses. He still has his eyesight now, so I guess he's okay. But our ancestors used to fear eclipses. Astrology-wise, they felt like it was tongue-tied. And how do you say the word? Apocalypse, right? An apocalypse. So that is like a big deal on Earth when you feel like the Earth is getting ready to be hit by a meteor or something with nature is going to happen, like a flood or a tsunami or an earthquake, something really big that's going to harm the Earth. So it's still a big deal, but it's nothing to fear, especially this time. So I believe I said before, things have to get really, really bad for you to know that they're about to be over. And then a new beginning is coming. New beginnings generally 99.9% of the time are better. And I'm going to leave that at that. New moons represent new beginnings. We just had the new moon in Gemini last week on the 22nd. Full moons are basically the climaxes before the end. Full moon is coming again on June the 5th, around that time. It's around the eclipse in Sag. So, and remember again, we being in Gemini, there's going to be a lot of that polarity that's going to be happening between the moon and the sun. The sun is in Gemini. The moon will be in Sagittarius. Yeah. because the moon will be in Scorpio in 2 days too. So anyway, eclipses open new doors while slamming closed others, okay? The procrastinators like myself will get an extra push to take action. I am definitely pushing myself to make sure I get this in. Sorry, I had to brighten my screen. I'm definitely pushing myself and feeling the push to get this vlog going and bettering every time I put an episode out. Eventually, I'm going to learn how to share my screen so you all can see what I see, and I can show you some of these charts and how things look on paper or on screen. The results will be shocking, and this is kind of this was bound to happen mindset. But the endings are hard, but they're for the better. So the eclipse is on June the 21st, which is that one in Cancer solar eclipse. And the one on December 14th was another solar eclipse in Sag, because those are the one in the one on June the 21st is the second to last one in the series, ending that Capricorn Cancer eclipse series. Those are going to be one of the biggest new beginnings and unexpected opportunities. Those are going to be one of the biggest eclipses that happen within this other half of the year. So you're going to expect a lot of unexpected opportunities for the better, okay? It's hard to think positive when so many things are going on outside. When I was outside just now talking to my friend Star, we were talking about how anxious we have been the last couple of days. And just wanting to stay positive. Want you to keep in mind that it looks bad. It looks like we're losing everything, but we are actually gaining. We're definitely gaining perspective. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we're gaining in a second. First, the solar eclipse it happens internally. So it's more of, I need more than what I currently have. You're definitely going to be grateful for what you have. That's what 1111 is about, being grateful for everything you have already, knowing that you're on the right path to get what you want and need more of, okay? So, also, I write intentions on new moons, on solar eclipses as well, that manifest things you have written to an existence or spoken into an existence for the next 1 to 6 months. So I can't tell you how many times that I've actually written, meditated on, and put my stones on. And I wanted to share, since I brought up that I have my amethyst stone in my bra and my clear quartz. Amethyst is for prosperity, abundance, protection. Clear quartz is for understanding, getting a clarity on things. And I keep them close to me so they protect me and give me insight, especially when I'm doing these vlogs. But anyway, once you meditate on it, internalize it, as you would do on any new moon or solar eclipse, you bring them into existence. Sometimes it doesn't happen when you think it's going to happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen in that 1 to 6 months, but it happens. I can't tell you how many things I manifested in the last 2 years that really did happen. Really. And I can definitely do an episode on how to write your new moon intentions. The lunar is externally. So the lunar is when we become aware of how others influence us. And a critical shift of perspective, it'll, bring these new mindsets, release certain things that you thought were good for you but weren't, because you want to bring in these new things that you believe will be good for you. You may not like it now, but letting go, releasing, purging, goodbyes, bring in positive new beginnings, bring in positive people, happenings, beliefs, all kinds of things. And what does this mean for all of us? Like I said, everyone will be impacted on this eclipse season based on your birth charts. And that's when you have to look and see where your north node and south node are. When the current eclipse series began, what was popping off? So not only does this have to do with you internally, again, this has to do with you externally as well. So what was happening externally around you and internally to you, or for you, right? Back on this last series of Capricorn and Cancer and Sagittarius and Gemini eclipses are going on. So let me give you my example. The Gemini and Sag eclipses that happened between December 10th and December 2010 and November 2012 were the Gemini and Sag, what life lessons began or what experiences happened. Were you on the right path? Or does this series of new moons that are happening now, a series of eclipses now, will they get you on the right path, basically? What did you learn last time? Do you need to get back on the right path that you intended back then, right? So this was a whole decade ago. Especially with Sag ruling Jupiter, the planet, again, of abundance and luck and expansion. Jupiter, Sagittarius, they know what they want and they know how to get it. Me, back then, December 2010, I believe shortly before that, I think it was like October 2010, I wanted child support. I wanted a new relationship and I wanted a new baby, and I got it. However, I was too chatty with a lot of people that weren't good for me. That's that Gemini side. I had earlier in 2010, so I guess I'm not gonna bring that up. That was something that's very personal. I want to bring up, but I definitely was too chatty with people that were not good for me, and I definitely was affected by people. I definitely was affected by people during that time. They got the best of me, actually, except the one who gave me the new baby. But he was a big deal, a big issue back then too. We're good now though. But and he's a Sagittarius. And his daughter is a Cancer. Our daughter. So the Cancer and Capricorn nodes that happened last were in 2009 to 2011, and I'm not sure what the months were, so let's just focus on 2009 between 2011. You see how they overlap each other as well, like they're overlapping each other now. Think back to 2009 and 2011. There was something I wanted to say. Oh, okay. So in 2009, if you know or remember Michelle Reed, who was our DCPS, DC Public Schools Chancellor, she gave us the big raise. I went from $54,000 in my 9th year of teaching in DCPS, because I started in 2000. I went from $54,000 to $72,000 within a year, just because she gave us all huge raises. However, that came with big evaluation changes, and it pushed a lot of people out of the system, even those who've been in the system for many, many, many years. I left my marriage alone, my old relationship with my ex-husband. I got that huge raise, and I got my own house. I didn't need my ex-husband to get a house with, because I got that big raise and I could afford everything. I got a new truck. Me and my kids went on buku trips, and we had buku Buku means a lot. We had buku clothes and new video games, and my kids had this and that and anything and everything we wanted. But I also lost a child that year. That's what I was going into. That was in the beginning of 2010. I had a failed new relationship with that situation. And I was being told what to do after we got that raise in my job too much that I didn't really like. And again, in 2012, in the summer, going back to that Gemini Sagittarius eclipse series, I lost that job. I was one of the people that lost their job after that big raise. So, excuse me, I don't know why I have this frog in my throat. Allergies. I want you all to think back to these times, these eras. I also was in court a lot between 2009 and 2011. I was in court a whole lot with my ex-husband because I had to get the child support that I wanted, but then the custody battle started. And if y'all remember, I am still going through them custody battles, but we are finally pulling out of the court and handling things on our own because we learned our life lessons from 10 years. Oh, I'm getting emotional. All right. So if you have these lunar nodes in your birth chart, if you have Gemini, Sagittarius, Cancer, or Capricorn in your birth chart, I know my oldest has Cancer North Node, which makes me so happy because her destiny is to go into a nurturing, intuitive, in my eyes, more positive placement in her future. So it has been rough with her, as y'all have heard me talk about, and I'm just glad that her destiny is looking positive. My youngest, the Cancer, my two girls are the ones that have these placements. She has hers in Sagittarius. And by that being a lucky sign, I believe that the projects we're working on with her are going to really take off. I feel like her North Node is going to be earlier than 40 years old. She's only about to be 8, right? But I feel like she's about to be a lucky little girl from the projects that we're working on, so stay tuned on that. But if you have those in your birth chart, and if you need help finding out if you do, it's going to be a wild ride for you until we get to 2021. It's going to be a wild ride for you the next 6 months. Lots of changes, big changes for y'all. But by then, everything will be better. So don't worry. It'll be different. It won't be what's going on now. It'll be better. Even those signs who are not have those nodes, Sagittarius, Gemini, Cancer, Capricorn, will definitely be affected, especially cardinal signs, Sun, Moon, and Rising, which is Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra. Aries and Libra are the polarities, and my North Node is in Libra, so I definitely will be affected. I'm being affected right now just talking about this. And those will be activated by the Cancer and Capricorn eclipses. So that's the one that's happening at the end of this month, and all the dates I explained for Cancer and Capricorns, the ones you heard for Cancer and Capricorns, they will definitely really affect us during that eclipses. The mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, will be affected by those sun, moon, and ascendants, and all the other planets, but definitely the sun, moon, and ascendants of those signs will be affected with the Gemini and Sagittarius eclipses, especially the one coming up this week. My only sign that is close, I don't have any sun, moon, or ascendants in those signs, but I do have a Sagittarius and Mercury. My Mercury's in Sagittarius, planet of communication. That's also in Cancer right now. Remember that? That's going in retrograde in a couple weeks. Also my moon is in Capricorn too. So I'm definitely going to be affected with that Cancer and Capricorn. And I believe it's going to be because me and my ex-husband are going to be able to, and I'm speaking this into existence, but it is, like I said, it's going to be getting better. Me and my ex-husband, I expect to, I expect the unexpected. I expect us to get out of the court this month and decide on what is going to be best for our son, and what he wants. My little Libra. All right, so like I said, expect the unexpected, accept the unknown. Life is a journey, so enjoy the ride. And whew, I talk so much and I'm starting to cry and get a little emotional, overwhelmed. So I'm getting ready to put this online, finally log off social media, and come back on maybe later this evening, spend some time with my kids. My friend should be coming back to, get some little mommy, and, just get some time off. And, again, thank you for joining me, listening all the way through. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and commenting. And thank you for listening. Teaching everyone abundantly, empowering many. I do have a short finale, I guess I want to call it, or encore to this, and I'm going to add on the situations happening in the world right now. Again, this is positive, but a little bit, I'm going to say it's negative, but it's more just making you more aware. Just making you more aware of expecting the unknown. So it doesn't have to do with astrology. It has to do with real life. And I will be putting it in for no more than 5 minutes, probably about 3. Just putting you in touch with what's going on and my take on it. So thank you again for joining me. Love y'all, and see y'all midweek and next Sunday. Peace. All right. So the final thing I wanted to say is I follow a young man named Young Pharaoh. He's not that young. He's like mid-late 20s. Young Pharaoh on YouTube. He has all the other platforms, Facebook, IG, Instagram, Snapchat, all those, except TikTok. No TikTok. We're banning TikTok anyway. But we're boycotting them. Young Pharaoh, right when I was trying to go to sleep last night around 3, he posted a 17-minute. Now, Young Pharaoh posts like 1 to 2 to 3 hour messages about, just bringing us aware and bringing the unconscious conscious and aware of the things that are happening and that are truths and are known as conspiracy theories, but are actually conspiracy facts. He will prove. He's so detailed. That's why his videos can go up to 3 hours sometimes, because he's so detailed on his things. But he put a 17-minute post. So I said, okay, well, 17 minutes isn't a lot. Every time Young Pharaoh, I get a notification from Young Pharaoh that he's put up a new video on YouTube, I immediately go to it. I was like, if it's more than an hour, I'm not going to watch it, but it was only 17 minutes. So I said, okay, let me watch this for 17 minutes. He dropped a bomb last night, and me being a Gemini and Lilith, and I'm going to talk about Lilith real heavy as soon as I can. It's just not the time right now because there's so much other stuff going on. But me being a Gemini and Lilith in the 8th house is one heck of a placement, and it's the placement of, again, Gemini is the chatty, wanting to know information, wanting to get to know more, and just building their mindset up. That makes me wanting to research a lot, right? So he gave me something that I haven't researched, and I thought I knew everything. I've been down every rabbit hole all through the earth, and then he finally hit me to something, and I'm just gonna give you just the first part that hit, but it was even more in 17 minutes. The first thing he hit me to was that the white supremacist group that we all know of, I know that there are others, but the main one, which is the Ku Klux Klan, was established by Democrats. And they went into political positions through the Ku Klux Klan or authoritative positions through the Ku Klux Klan, like police, like the executive and judicial cabinets, like other government agencies and cabinets, the DOJ, the CIA, the FBI. You'll find all these white supremacists of this group, the KKKs, and they were developed by Democrats. And where you don't want to believe that the people that you trusted, they used this so that they could pretty much bring fear into black people and take over and make it seem like Republicans. That's why blacks were Republicans. I'm not going to give it away. He gives it really detailed in a short time. But that's why blacks were Republicans before the Ku Klux Klan was established back in the early 90s or the late 1800s, something like that. I didn't know that. And that stamps every conspiracy theory that you think is not real. When I talked all this stuff about astrology, and I really need to go because we're going up to 5 minutes and my kids are getting restless. When I talked all this stuff about astrology and how we need to expect the unexpected, this really has to do with real life. What happens above happens below. While there's so much going on above in the universe, there's so much going on down here. And it all ties in. Know your history. Check out Young Pharaoh on YouTube and check out the post he made in the last few hours. And hit me up to let me know how you feel. Thank you, TMZ, Teaching Everyone Abundantly, Empowering Many, Zakia, that's me, which means intelligent in Arabic, Enlightening. Why do I not have this, y'all? I'm so... That's why I need to take a break from everything. I'll come back. I'll put it in the subject. But yes, I'm teaching everyone abundantly. There's that Jupiter love. My Jupiter's in Cancer. I'm a nurturing person. Cancer is a nurturing sign. I'm going over 5 minutes, but real quick, my Jupiter's in Capricorn. My Jupiter's in Cancer, and it was in retrograde on my birth chart when I was born. Let me know when you're ready for your birth chart. I'm excited to see what other energies are out here. And I know you will be too. Thanks for listening.